Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here. Welcome back to the railway and welcome back to the model railway news for October. This has been one of the heaviest months we've seen this whole year in terms of announcements, and we've also seen possibly the biggest announcement in our industry for a long time this month. So if you haven't heard about this already, stay tuned, you're probably going to be amazed. Now, a couple of months ago, a few companies, Heljan, Pico and Gagemaster, they kind of got together to start to introduce a new scale to the hobby. And that scale was TT scale. And these are some of the products that were announced over the summer. Frankly, I didn't even mention this stuff on my channel because honestly, I thought it was a little bit naff. Even now, their combined ranges consist of 4 locomotives, a selection of track pieces, a single wagon, no coaches at all, and a range of accessories. And in my opinion, that was just not enough to introduce a new scale to the industry, because who's going to buy it? Existing modelers are not going to be induced to change to TT with such a small amount to choose from, not when there's all of this to go for in 00 gauge alone, not to mention everything that O gauge and N scale has to offer. No, in order to introduce a new scale to the UK, you have to go big. Otherwise, people are just going to ignore it and carry on in their respective scales. Well, here in October, one manufacturer has gone big, and that manufacturer is Hornby. And honestly, I'm struggling to believe it. So unlike the 3 other manufacturers I've mentioned, Hornby have announced a huge number of TT products, including a complete track system, which is going to grow apparently, 2 train sets, 8 locomotives, tons of coaches, in all seriousness, tons of them, a whole load of wagons as well, and also scenery and buildings, and apparently this range is going to grow as well. And we're going to get to all of the stuff that Hornby have announced in just a moment, but first of all, what is TT scale? Well, TT stands for tabletop, and the scale is 1 to 120, which is right there between 00 gauge and N gauge. TT, or 120 scale, has a number of advantages over 00, which I think is the most popular scale. The first thing is obviously space. You can build quite a lot more with TT in a given amount of space than you can with 00, and also realism, because 00 scale is actually 1 to 76 scale models, which ride on 1 to 87 scale track. So actually in 00, all of the gauging is completely off and unrealistic. TT scale fixes this by giving us 1 to 120 models which run on 1 to 120 track, which is obviously perfectly in scale. Okay, now on to Hornby's range. So everything Hornby has announced in TT is brand new. It's all newly designed from the rails up, and it's all going to be newly tooled. Now, if you look carefully, you'll notice that some of the product listing images, the Class 66 for example, looks just like the 00 gauge model. And that's true, they have used the 00 image to represent the TT model, which is, I think, a strange idea, perhaps a little bit misleading, but these are just placeholder images. Everything in the TT range is being designed from the ground up. And frankly, this is just an insane undertaking. So many new toolings, they must have cost a fortune in development and tooling costs, and all to introduce a new scale that nobody knows for sure is going to be adopted and succeed. I think Hornby are very, very confident that it will do, but still nobody knows for sure. And this project must have cost millions and millions, probably 10 million at the very least. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So let's start looking at some of the TT 1 to 120 locos that Hornby have announced. First of all, we've got steam with an A4 locomotive. All of their steam locos are £145.99, which is quite a bit cheaper than 00 gauge. They've also announced a Princess Coronation class, which looks lovely, and a couple more Gresley Pacifics, an A1 and an A3. So not a massive selection really. We've got 3 Gresley Pacifics and 1 LMS Pacific. So not a huge selection in terms of steam, but still quite a lot more than I think most of us would expect. Diesel wise, we've got quite a bit more. There's the Class 43 HST train packs. I assume this is a power car and a dummy car for £169.99. The rest of the diesels are the same price as the steamers at £145.99. This includes an all-new Class 50 locomotive, a Class 66, which apparently has several different detail variations, and then there's an 08 shunter, which is a little bit cheaper actually at £118.99. The range of rolling stock that's going to be available is also quite extensive. They have BR 57-foot coaches at £32.49, which is the price for all of the coaches. They've got BR Mark 1s, BR Mark 2 coaches, BR Mark 3 coaches. They've got Pullman coaches, which have working table lights. So you can kind of get a sense of what they're going for here. These are not going to be sort of cheap toy-like models. Sounds like they're going to have some serious details in them. The Pullmans are a little bit more expensive at £46.49. Presumably that's due to the added complexity of including lights. They've got LMS 50-foot coaches and also a huge amount of choice within these broad coach categories. Loads of versions of each type. Amazing. Quite a few freight wagons have been announced as well, including a 7-plank wagon at £18.49, several variations. LNER/BR vent vans, these are going to be £20.99. They've got 12-ton tank wagons at £21.99, TTA tanker wagons at £20.99, Towed B brake vans at £23.99, Towed E brake vans at £23.99, HAA hoppers at £17.49, and 21-ton mineral wagons at £14.49. All of this new design, all of this new tooling. I really don't know how they've done it. Honestly, I won't believe some of this stuff until I've seen it. I just can't believe how much they've spent on this. Anyway, the train sets are the Easterner train set, which includes an A4, 3 coaches, I think it is, the controller and relevant track. And this is going to cost £194.49. All of this stuff is new tools, so I guess it kind of makes sense. And then there is the Flying Scotsman train set, which includes the Flying Scotsman loco, and that's more expensive at £215.99. They've also announced a full track system, which they say they're going to add to. This includes straights, curves of multiple different radii, and points and such. And also there's a good selection of buildings and other minor accessories which are going to be available to pre-order too. So in terms of actually getting these models, there is some good news and bad news. The good news is, looking at the prices, most of this stuff seems to be considerably cheaper than in 00 gauge, particularly when you consider that all of this is new tools. So from an affordability point of view, I think this is an improvement over 00 scale. Hornby have also announced their TT 120 club, which is actually free to join until January, I believe, and this gives you 15% off anything in the TT range, which of course will make TT even more affordable. And I think from January, the club is going to cost around £30, so again, if you buy enough of it, this could still be quite cost effective. The bad news is that the entirety of the TT range is exclusive to Hornby.com. The retailers have been cut out completely from this range. Nobody is going to be allowed to stock this at the moment besides Hornby. Now, I think this kind of makes sense because when you have retailers in the equation, they take a cut of the profits and that would increase the price of the TT range. And I think because Hornby are introducing a new scale here, they need to try and make it as appealing as possible, and keeping it Hornby exclusive will obviously be a method of keeping the price down. Hornby also say that keeping it exclusive to their website will allow them to be more flexible in terms of promotions and such, and I guess that's true as well. The downside though is that the retailers are missing out on this completely, and that's going to harm their businesses. And you've got to think, is it also going to harm the rate of adoption of TT? Because this range is not going to be in model shops in front of people for people to look at. How is that going to affect the rate of adoption? And I think rate of adoption is a massive consideration here, isn't it? Because there's a massive mountain for TT to climb if it's ever going to compete with 00, O or N. Look at 00 scale, there are hundreds and hundreds of locomotives to choose from, not to mention all of the rolling stock and the coaches and all of that other stuff that we've got in 00. Yes, Hornby have announced a massive range of stuff, and I did say a manufacturer has to go big if they're going to stand a chance of introducing a new scale. But there's still a long way to go before TT is going to match 00 in terms of the amount of choice that it affords its modelers. Will TT last long enough to actually get properly adopted? Are manufacturers like Hornby and Pico and Gagemaster going to support the scale until it becomes established? Massive questions. Also, is it a good idea to fragment modelers into more different scales? Is it a positive that manufacturers' attentions are going to be divided by even more scales? I couldn't answer these questions. Now, Hornby did say that they are not looking to market TT towards existing modelers. They said they're not going to be advertising this stuff in the magazines. Instead, they're going to be targeting families and newcomers, which sounds good, but clearly these are not going to be enough to support a new scale. I think existing modelers are going to have to jump ship if this is going to have a hope of catching on. So comment down below, what do you think about TT? Is it going to catch on? Do you think it's a good idea? Will you be trying it out? Any thoughts, please pop them down in the description, because honestly, nobody knows how this is going to go. I'm really quite excited about it. I am going to be covering this stuff on the channel, but whether it's going to be here in 5 or 10 years, I don't know. But Hornby sure seem to think so. Moving on then, KR Models have just released their The Fell locomotive, and to mixed reviews. They are being praised for bringing such an unusual prototype to ready to run, but they're also being criticised for not producing it particularly accurately, and also for the sloppy way in which parts of this project seem to have been executed. Online, several modelers have spotted a number of inaccuracies in the bodywork, and basic things such as the instructions were incomplete and completely incoherent. The quality of the model I reviewed was also very questionable as well. The gloss finish didn't match any other models that I've got. It had very poor detailing in a number of areas, it had mismatching details, and several wheels not picking up power correctly. Now, KR Models charges customers for their models before the models are released, and all of the Fell locomotives, as far as I can tell, are gone now. They're not even listed on KR Models' website anymore following the model's release. So that means that customers don't get to wait and see what a model is like before parting with their money. And clearly this involves a degree of trust. Customers have to trust that KR will be diligent with their research, and they have to trust that they're going to put some effort into their models to deliver decent value for money. I think that trust has been slightly broken in the Fell, and that could be a problem for KR Models going forward, particularly considering the price of the new locomotive they announced at the Great Electric Train Show recently. They've announced an all-new Midland Railway 010 Big Bertha. And this loco was famous for being a banking locomotive on the notoriously steep Lickey incline. The DCC ready models start at £220 each, although the website shows it cheaper than that, which kind of misleads you into thinking the model is cheaper than it is, but then at checkout you do get charged the full £220 plus postage. And of course the DCC sound version adds £100. Honestly, this is a huge amount of money to spend with a manufacturer who have just released the Fell in the state that they did. I'm expecting to see much more effort put into Big Bertha, and I'm expecting to see a much higher quality delivered at the end of the project. Looking at the photos, this is a complex locomotive, possibly even more so than the Fell, so any sloppiness in this project could be its undoing. Anyway, pre-orders are being taken now. Check out KR Models' website if you'd like to place an order. Next up, this is one that I was really excited about because Dapol have just revealed some sample images of their upcoming Hawthorne Leslie 040 tank engines. And look at these things, they are showing some outstanding features. They have what appears to be a die-cast running plate. The tank, that looks metal as well, doesn't it? And it also looks like it's got a turned metal chimney. So tons of metal work. This looks like a really quality model for what it's going to cost. It also includes considerable cab detail, as you can see, with tons of separately fitted parts thrown into the bargain as well. I think this is quite outstanding really, given the price at the retailers, which is less than £100. £99.45 DCC ready at the retailers. Heljan have just released a new locomotive as well. Oh, this is a big month. This time it's the Class 45 or the Peak. They've got these available in a number of different liveries, and these start from £160.65 DCC ready, and they have some weathered Peaks as well, which are just less than £10 extra. Some examples have sold out already, but check out the affiliate link in the description if you'd like to get one. Moving on to Hattons then, because the first batch of Genesis coaches has finally arrived and is now in stock, along with a new addition to the range in the BR Blue and Grey Generator coach, which I did a review of not too long ago. And that's significant because it's one of the very oldest coaches ever to receive that BR Blue and Grey livery. Some customers are reporting having Genesis coach pre-orders cancelled due to Hattons apparently receiving smaller numbers of the coaches than they initially expected. Now obviously for the people involved this is incredibly disappointing. We have to hope that Hattons are going to produce more of the coaches that have sold out or that they haven't got enough of, so that those people who missed out have a chance of getting some. The coach I looked at though did not disappoint. The level of detail, the quality, was far above what we've seen from Hornby for the same price. Even though the price of the Genesis range has now been increased to match Hornby's, although they did say that they're going to be honouring the price for those who have pre-ordered, I guess assuming that those pre-orders haven't already been cancelled. Up next then, just a quick one from Rapido Trains UK, who have revealed yet another new sample. This time it is the Wisbeach and Upwell tramcar, which looks like an outstanding model. These photos show off the intricate verandas, and also you can get a little look at the full interior detail, which apparently features etchings for the little leather grabbers that you would hold on to support yourself. Yeah, those are going to be separately fitted on the interior. It's only a minor detail, but I think that gives some idea of what sort of model we're dealing with here. And these are going to be available from the retailers for £63.71 each. And I've got some affiliate links down in the description if you'd like to check those out. Finally then, a little bit of news from Accurascale, who have just successfully released their all-new children wagons. Check out my review if you'd like to, because these are fantastic models with some really awesome details. For me, these wagons were let down by a silly mistake, and that was fitting ferrous metal parts near the magnetic couplings, which basically cause the couplings to attract to these parts rather than to each other, which kind of stops them working. Now, supposedly this was not what Accurascale specified to the factory. All of the materials around the couplings were supposed to be made of non-ferrous materials. But they also stated on the paperwork that the models had passed an extensive quality control process. But if that's true, then how did these issues reach the customer undetected? Perhaps the quality control process wasn't quite as extensive as it ought to have been. They've also announced some new banana vans for 00 gauge, and as you'd fully expect from Accurascale, they seem to have the usual array of intricate detail together with an impressive number of different variations. These are going to be available for £28.30 each, which does seem a little bit cheaper than the likes of, let's say, Rapido and such, but the catch is that these seem only to be available in packs of 3 at the moment, which means you can't buy them singularly. They've also announced an all-new FND-D nuclear flask wagon, which is a very unusual looking piece of kit. They've already got a sample on display, as you can see, presented for our viewing pleasure. Now these are going to be quite expensive at £74.95 for a pack of 2, but they do boast features such as sprung buffers, plastic, metal and etched details, working tail lights, rotating axle boxes and posable and removable hoods. So expensive, yes, but packed with an enormous number of features, also yes. So, oh, what an incredible month. What an absolutely outstanding month from all manufacturers. I think the Hornby TT thing is just mind-blowing. Again, I just can't believe how much time and money they've invested in this. But it was the right thing to do. That is the way to announce a new scale, isn't it? That's the way to introduce a new system. If you go small with something like this, you can expect to go home after a year or so when nobody buys it. So we'll see what happens. If you've got any thoughts on the news this month, please do comment down below. If you've got anything that you think I've missed, again, please comment and let me know. For now though, have a great month of modelling and I will catch you very, very soon. All right, cheers folks, take care.